This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
NFL football, musicals, they go hand in hand.
Taylor goes deep. Matty gets mouthy.
Of course it's off the cuff, mate. That's what I do, Wes.
Welcome back after banging one out on the side of a highway.
And Matty knows something about being below average, below the belt.
Is there a level beyond dickhead?
The Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
Australia's premier NFL fantasy football show is back here on the Sunday for the Aussie Gridrion Network. This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show. It's Matty C, and joining me is, of course, Australia's finest fantasy analyst, Taylor Goodall. Hey, mate.
Hey, mate, how we going? No Ryan today because let's fucking get into it because there's going to be some absolute shit teams from the South, so I want to get through those wakers as quick as possible.
I think there's going to be plenty of arse jokes from you as we go forward, so, mate, better off saving them.
Yeah. Always save your ass. That's a great tip for life.
But if you haven't used all the arse jokes on the AFC South, because that happened on Friday. Go back and check that one out. But part of the reason that we're doing the NFC South today, so we can spend it with our great guest. If you didn't catch him on Friday, he's gone through the 5 questions. We've initiated him into the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show Hall of Fame from doing that. But he's here to talk about a division that also hosts his favourite team. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, Connor Wilson. How are you, mate?
Woo.
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me back.
Man, it's an absolute pleasure to have you back. We managed to get Connor through those 5 questions. He survived pretty unscathed, do you reckon? He didn't even need a HIA or anything.
No, and I'm still wondering if anyone's going to accept the invite not to come back to the Sunday show. I was wondering if Connor might have said, fuck these guys are dickheads, wakers, whatever you want to call them. And he just said, you know what, I'm not coming back. And he did. So he came back. Well done for Connor. I don't know if that makes me feel better about him or less about him. But we'll find out how tonight goes.
Maybe he does need a HIA.
Yeah. I think you buried the lead and you went too early on that one, mate. I know you're known for shooting early, and you've done it again.
Famously. What I want to do tonight is we have got a bit to get through because the NFC South, it's got some interesting teams. And I think like the AFC South, there's some that are really clear-cut and there's others where there's questions on questions on questions. That is a great segue because I've got questions. I want to dive into the mailbag and see if we can help out some of the Joe public out there who want to know what to do with their fantasy teams.
G'day Gridrion.
Anyone that hasn't joined us before, it's pretty simple. Let's kick it off, eh? Is everyone ready?
The 4 horsemen of NFL in Australia.
If the sound ever plays, the pick is officially in.
Nick the lineman.
So it's the worst against any team, and it's also the worst passer rating that he has against any team at 66.3.
Brad the coach.
The Steelers have held the Ravens under 20 points in 7 straight games.
Isaac the analyst.
For this one, I couldn't understand it either. Like, I don't think they're making the playoffs.
Ian the Viking.
Full of passion, full of fight. They might genuinely be interesting to watch again.
Previews, overreactions, and bloody best bets.
If Derrick Henry can get rolling, then I think it's no contest. The Ravens are going to win.
As a fan of the NFL, you hope he comes back because he's just an absolute beast when he gets on there.
That would be able to give, at least Justin Fields a chance to be able to build.
Let's move on. After that insanity.
So I just think, though, it's going to stop here.
Defensively for the Bills, I don't think that's actually going to combat what the Chiefs do already.
Yeah, I guarantee Pete would get down on his knees for that.
G'day Gridiron.
I love spreadsheets. I'm a spreadsheet man.
I love spreading my legs.
Twice a week all season long on the Aussie Gridrion Network.
First question comes in from, I like this, at Cocklebiddy Kid. Do you reckon actually from out in the desert, Tay? Do you know where Cocklebiddy is?
I don't know. Are they just like hugging fucking cactuses for fun?
Probably. It's way out in like the Australian Bight in Western Australia. It's got its own time zone out there. They're like 15 minutes ahead of Perth time. It's fucking weird.
Must be snakes and shit everywhere.
There is. Mate, this is a really great question because I think we touched on a couple of people who would fall into this category in the Friday show. But the question from at Cocklebiddy Kid is, how late are you willing to wait for your first quarterback in a super flex or 2 quarterback draft?
Oh, you've come to the right place because I am willing to wait as long as it takes to make sure that the rest of my positions are locked up. I kind of laugh how quick people take middling quarterbacks. Like, I'm all for taking, like, the top 4 guys, right? Like, if you're near the top of the draft, I have no issue if you're taking Josh Allen, Lamar, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, and even Burrow. But when you're starting to get into that middle sort of tier, like, let's just say this right now, Matty C. If Dak Prescott, who's going at quarterback 15, 16, is better than Baker Mayfield at quarterback 6, will you be shocked?
Absolutely not.
So I don't understand why everyone's clamoring around to get the quarterback 6 in the first round when you could just wait till the 4th or 5th and get a Dak Prescott. I don't think it makes sense. I'm not advocating to wait as long as what I just said for Michael.
I mean, Penix is like quarterback 25, mate. That's a wait.
I'm saying that if you're in a Superflex and you're not near the top of the draft, I'm happy to wait till like the 4th or 5th to take like a Dak Prescott, a Jordan Love, something like that range. So
we love those guys.
A long-winded answer, but I'm saying that I have no issue if you want to wait a long, long time, because that's the way I do things. But if you're near the end of the first, I would probably look at maybe that 4th or 5th round to take your first quarterback.
All right. Hey, Connor, what do you do with Superflex and 2 quarterback leagues? You're willing to wait, or do you kind of feel like you got to get amongst the action early?
If you've got an opportunity to draft the top 3 guys, your Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, your Jane Daniels, your Jalen Hurts, those guys, if you have the opportunity, take them. As Tay said, if you're waiting a little bit, the difference between your QB8 last season in Jared Goff and your QB8 is 3 points. That's not going to make or break your season buzzing to QBs early. The difference between your wide receivers who are drafted around that same area, the value is drastically different, and the points difference is drastically different. So prioritize those positions, pick up QBs at value, have tier lists of guys that you like.
Oh, that's a really good point. The tier list. Hey, we've been advocating tiers for a very long time. And I mean, just because of the nature of this work, people want you to put a number on a guy, but we really do talk about where the breaks are between tiers. Connor, I love that you've done that. I'm going to stick with you, though. Hopefully that helps Cocklebitty Kid, because we're going to go to Sparkles NYJ. At Sparkles NYJ wants to know, and I'm going to go to you on this one first, Connor. What the fresh hell do I do with Kansas City wide receivers this year? Any hints?
I'm going to say a soft avoid. Look, you've got a bunch of guys that are, again, ranked around the same sort of area. And when that's the case, it's because no one knows what the fuck to do. I think Xavier Worthy is a very interesting player. I think the things that they were doing with him towards the end of that season kind of points in the direction that he could break out properly this year. But there are a lot of mouths to feed. The situation coming into this year is drastically different to what it was at the end of last year, with guys like Hollywood Brown coming back. Obviously, Rashee Rice has got his suspension forward too, which kind of makes me want to steer clear of him, just generally speaking. I think he's going to have enough upside when he comes back to justify waiting 6 weeks to have him. So I'm going to say a soft avoid. Xavier Worthy is an interesting one, but outside of that, don't love anyone else.
Yeah, fair enough. Tay, you got any strong feelings about what to do, especially with the Rashee Rice situation?
Are you leading me into this on purpose, Matty? I fucking love Xavier Worthy. I've honestly been proclaiming this on like Facebook pages and stuff, and I think I had a comment that got about 30 likes or something in one of these like group chats where it was like, I feel it in my plums that Xavier Worthy in this first 4 or 6 weeks is going to be the guy we all missed. I just have a feeling like Rashee Rice obviously being out is going to be a huge part of it. Like obviously that suspension is hanging over his head. So if Rashee Rice, it doesn't happen early, I will definitely temper my expectations on Worthy. If he's out 4 to 6 weeks at the start of the year, maybe even 8, I just think that what Worthy was doing at the end of the year mattered. I know the way that the Chiefs operate is frustrating for fantasy for Mahomes. Obviously, they lean on their defense, and it's frustrating. But Xavier Worthy at the end of last year, I think it's actually getting lost how dominant he was. Like, Brown, I get that there's reason to believe that he might be better this year. He's already caught an injury in preseason. Honestly, I think all the big players are coming from Worthy. I honestly think his speed matters. I think they're going to look at this offense and go, we didn't win the Super Bowl last year, so we need to tweak things a little bit. It's a gut feel. I've just got this massive feeling in my nutsack that he is going to dominate the start of the year. Call me on it if he's shithouse. I'm just feeling. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, when you go into plum theory, then, just having a fish around in the old undies to get a feeling for what's going to happen with some players. And it is hard to hold the person accountable for that because, you're not bringing hard stats. You're bringing hard nuts. So, fair enough. The last question here, I actually feel like this might be aimed at Tay more than everybody else on earth. It's from @BigDave_NFL. What's up with this NFL Supercoach game, Tay?
It's funny you ask. We just happen to have a podcast that.
Oh, do we?
Tell me more. NFL Supercoach Halfa. Look, honestly, Supercoach, if you're looking for just a bit of a breakdown quickly about the difference between what we're talking about now and Supercoach, basically, Supercoach is a game that's based off each player having a dollar value. So what's different specifically to, say, Supercoach Classic with NFL to what we're doing here with NFL Fantasy is that basically all players are up for grabs. So you make a team. It doesn't mean that Joe Blow next to you in your league or Joe Blow that's in Australia on the same platform can't have that same player. You are basically making a team of, 18 players that start and a bunch of benchies that sort of aren't starting. You are making a team out of what you believe is the best squad you can make on a dollar value, and everyone else can have those same guys if they want to. So, yeah, it's really a different style game. You're not playing like a draft style where, once you pick a guy in your draft, he's yours. So it is a bit of a different style, and we break that down on our Supercoach Halfa podcast constantly. And guys obviously get ranked and owned higher than others, and we break down whether they make sense for a dollar value more so than their actual value in fantasy. I broke down Lamar Jackson. He's the highest ranked or highest owned player in Supercoach. I think a guy like Josh Allen should be higher because he's $2 or so million less in value. And there's just as good a chance that Josh Allen is the quarterback one this year than him. So it's okay, I think there's a chance Lamar's the one, but I'm going to take the lesser valued guy in Supercoach in terms of money value because I can spend that $2 million elsewhere. So that's just a quick rundown. If you want way more specifics or way more of a rundown in terms of the actual Supercoach side of it, please listen to our other podcast. But that's just a little bit of a basic rundown of what I can do off the top of my head.
A whole different game, isn't it? And part of the beauty of it is so I'm an NFL fantasy guy. I've played a little bit of rugby league Supercoach, but really the Supercoach bit is my Achilles heel. So I have got this wonderful ticket to stand next to Taylor while he talks through a bunch of this with his knowledge of both. I've got quite a lot of NFL knowledge, so that's good for me to bring in. But it's going to be a show that I think will appeal to both. The person who's been a Supercoach player who maybe hasn't spent time with the NFL guy who really hasn't spent time with Supercoach. And we're finding immediately, Tay, haven't we, that the support and the way this has landed in the market, there has been so much positive sentiment about it.
Anyone who hasn't listened to episode 2, take JJ McCarthy over Cameron Ward. I'll just leave it at that.
I mean, we're saying take JJ McCarthy over everybody on earth, aren't we, pretty much? If you've got a team that doesn't have him, you may have to have a good hard look at yourself.
And that's proof of the pudding of what I'm talking about. I have JJ McCarthy, quarterback 16. He's going about quarterback 20-odd in terms of ADP. So it's not about, take the 3 best guys in your rankings and that's who the quarterback's going to be. It's all about value for return on investment. So it's JJ McCarthy is a 10th of the value of Lamar Jackson. So it's am I going to get a 10th of the value out of JJ McCarthy than I do compared to Lamar Jackson? Yes, I believe you would. So it's all relative to a dollar value that you're starting with, not so much who I believe is going to be the best quarterbacks in the league.
That's it. You can find that here on the Aussie Gridrion Network. It publishes weekly. It's we call it a half-hour, but really, as long as it's under an hour, that's kind of an Aussie half hour. Lots a few minutes between mates, eh?
Yeah, close enough, mate.
Yeah, close enough. Hey, fellas, we're going to dive into this division that matters. It is NFC South Day here on South Week at the Aussie Gridrion Network, and I'm pretty excited to kick it off.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
All right, about time you cut to me there, Matty. Thank you very much.
And Force getting yet another dick joke.
I'm no gorilla, but I'm taking the one-on-one.
Zombies, because I don't want to be probed.
Why don't you tell me, Matty? Why don't you tell me?
Can I swear on this podcast?
Yes!
I reckon Manjot's mum would towel us up, though.
The Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
We are back, and we're back to dive teeth first into this NFC South. I love this division. I love this division, Tay. Every year I pick a team from the NFC because I've got an allegiance in the AFC. So I pick a team from the NFC who are kind of underdogs that I just cheer for and hope they have a better season than the year before. Mate, I reckon 7 years out of 8, it's a team from this division. It's just such a scrappy, fun division.
Yeah, it makes sense because it's such a shithouse division that you don't really pick like a guaranteed winner most years. So it makes sense that if you want to pick like a team that comes out of nowhere, it may as well come from this division because it's a division that's always up for grabs. I'm not so sure that's true this year, but generally over the past like 5 to 10 years, it's been such a up for grabs division that if you're going to take, like I said, a team that was so bad last year that's going to turn it around, it makes sense that it beats this division.
Mate, it might not be as up for grabs as you think because I think the Buccaneers have won 5 of the last 6 years in that division. But what I like about it is that nobody has really pulled away to be like the 15-1 team that the Panthers were years and years ago, or that really great Falcons team who made a Super Bowl as well. It's been a long time since we've seen that. But I just like that any year one team from this division can kind of just shock the shit out of everybody. We're going to start with a team who is going to shock the shit out of nobody. It's going to be the New Orleans Saints. We already think that there is a strong likelihood they're going to be in the running for the number 1 pick this year. I went looking for a quarterback on this team. I don't think I've got a quarterback on this team because there is certainly not anybody. When you scroll down the list, I found one site who ranked one of these quarterbacks once at 30, and that was Tyler Shuck. I don't know that he's the starter. I don't know that if Spencer Rattler's the starter, you want a piece of him. I'm pretty happy to jog on from quarterback. The New Orleans Saints have a great running back. His name's Alvin Kamara. He's aging a bit. He's finding himself ranked in the middle of running back 2. Hey, Connor, what's your comfort with Alvin Kamara? Because both Tay and I are a little cooler than consensus. We have him ranked closer to 20.
Kamara, I think at this point in his career, you know what you're going to get with. He's a reliable target in the passing game. He's probably still going to get a fair amount of work on the ground, regardless of game script, because he is maybe the reliable, talented player in this offense. Sorry, Chris Olave. In saying that, at his ADP, don't love him. I don't think I'm going to be going after him in any of the drafts, but you know what you're going to get out of him. He's reasonably safe floor without maybe the ceiling that other players have at that ADP.
I mean, he just turned 30. This is the other thing people talk about with running backs is the 30 thing. But how many seasons do you reckon, Connor, that Alvin Kamara has rushed for 1,000 yards?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's less than I might think. Would I be correct?
You'd be correct. Do you want to put a number on just for fun? See what happens?
Let's shoot for 3.
It is 3 less than that. He's never had a 1,000-yard rushing season. So it just shows you how important the pass-catching role is for him. And in fact, Kev, our great commissioner, BK Pato Kev, reckons that this might be the 1 year where they've got so little else going on that this might be the year where Kamara finally bashes through the 1,000-yard mark. Amazing to think it's never happened before. I mean, I can hear your stunt.
I'm in disbelief. I just think a player of that talent, there are a lot of terrible players who have hit 1,000 yards.
Yeah, there really are. Oh, my God. Pretty sure Toby Gerhardt had 1,000. I mean, you're going to have to Google that guy up, but yeah, there's some bad players. Hey, Tay, our outlook for Kamara is a little cooler. Connor kind of lines up with us. Do you want to explain just real quick why we're a bit cooler on Kamara?
Yeah, I'm going to say to Kev there's no chance that he has 1,000 yards on the ground. Like,
he reckons this is the year.
I will take that water bet every day of the week. And whether he had 14 years of having 1,000 rushing yards, I would still take the under this year because that offensive line fucking sucks. That team sucks. They are not going to be in any positive game scripts at all. And the problem is you've seen the usage from him purely out of the passing game. What if that falls off? Like, he's been completely reliant on that role the last, 3 or 4 years. So I don't see how it gets better. Like, it's probably only going to get worse because what if Shuck or Spencer Rattler, who we didn't even want to talk about in the quarterback section, what if they don't check down? What if they decide the only way if I am going to carve out a role in the NFL is if I actually start trying to target Chris Olave so his fucking brother doesn't come out on Instagram and start talking shit? They need to do something. Like, these guys, if they want to carve out a career, they've actually got to start throwing to the wide receivers. So I'm worried about Kamara because I am certain, I've never been more certain, but even before you brought that stat up, Matty C, that he's going to suck ass on the ground. It is going to be all in the air. And like I said, his whole role is be in the air. So I don't know where the upside is. Like, where does it come from? The offense is going to suck. They're going to be trying to get the 101 next year. And like I said, I like Derek Carr, other guys have actually dumped off to him sometimes 10 to 15 times a game.
Yeah.
That's not going north of that. He's not getting 20 targets. Like, there's only reason for downside of me and Kamara. So I think he's fine in like full PPR leagues where it's like, I'll maybe take him where he's drafted, but he has no upside to me. I'm not taking him like with any kind of belief that he's going to be a league winner for me.
If I've gone running back heavy and he might be my third running back, then I'd be okay with it. But I mean, the draft has got to be very specific. I've got to be in the right spot, and things have to go very, very specifically for that to happen. I think it'll be not likely I own much of Alvin Kamara. But
I'll make a PSA: if you take Kamara, don't watch the game. Please do not watch the game ever.
For your own mental health,
your eyes will fucking bleed shit. Like, you are not going to want to watch that game.
Amazing. Oh my God. The wide receiver situation here may be better, maybe not. Chris Olave is getting ranked. Oh God, I've seen him everywhere from 26 to 39. So that's a wide range. Tay, you and I also have him on a similarly wide range. I've only got him at 27 because I just think the ball's got to go fucking somewhere. You're clearly on the lower end because the quarterback situation throws all kinds of questions up. It's hard to know, right?
It is. And obviously, the concussion issues are an issue. Like, it's hard to factor in because it's like, it's hard to rank him because it's like he could be nothing or he could be something depending on his health, like depending on whether he stays on the field or not. I still think that there's at least a reason for upside. I know I haven't ranked him this way, and I brought this up on, I think it was the wide receiver show with Joycey.
Yeah.
Even though I haven't ranked him high, I'm leaving like reason to believe he could have an okay season only because obviously this team's going to be behind and passing a lot. And I think he had some weird situation of Derek Carr. Like, they had, like, whatever Stafford and Cup had with the breakfast thing, I brought it up. Like, I'm certain that Derek Carr was shitting in Chris Olave's breakfast. Like he was
the other way around. It could have been the other way around.
Do you know how Nutri-Grain has that new thing where it looks like there's chocolate balls in the Nutri-Grain? I'm certain that he was eating that Nutri-Grain. It was just balls of shit. Like, he had the absolute opposite of a mind meld with Chris Olave and Derek Carr did. Like, they hated each other. So I'm leaving at least like a tiny bit of upside that maybe whoever steps in is just going to like hyper target Chris Olave. But because this offense sucks so many nuts, like multiple nuts, I just cannot be high on Chris Olave. It's one of those ones that I'm happy to be wrong. I have Chris Olave in multiple dynasty leagues, so I'm hoping it turns around. But for redraft, I'm kind of just going to let someone else take him and hope it works.
Yeah, it might be the year to go to your Chris Olave owner in a dynasty and just make an offer, see what happens. There is no NFL team where their number one ranked wide receiver is lower than the New Orleans Saints' highest ranked wide receiver. Connor, do you think that's fair?
I think it's completely fair. I've got a little game for you in the same sort of scheme as your little game you posed to me. How many 20-point PPR games do you think Olave has in his career?
Oh, Tay, do you want to go first?
Well, it's probably not zero because he's had, I would say it's like 1.
I'm going to go a little higher. I'm going to go 5.
It is 0.
Oh,
it is absolutely 0. It is a donut, and that is in full PPRs. I don't think that he has the upside in this offense.
He's not a touch.
He's got all the talent, and he's had none of the production. And I think when you play fantasy football, you want to sit down and watch these football games and enjoy it. And I don't think there's a way that you can watch Chris Olave with the chance that he might end his career on any given play and enjoy watching that. I don't want to touch him.
I mean, I can't bug a hole in that. I really can't. I'm just kind of the glass half full over here. Maybe I need to start looking at it as half empty. I'm 5 whole spots ahead of consensus because I just got to believe the ball goes somewhere. So Okay, cautionary tale. Maybe I need to adjust that ranking a little bit, and I will heed you two and your wisdom. I also went looking further down the list for a second wide receiver, and I found the best ball darling, Connor.
Look, Rashid Shaheed, he's either going to get you 30 points or he's going to get you 2. You don't get any points. You don't get any satisfaction in fantasy about coming second. So he can either win you or lose you a week. Take a flyer on him if you feel like it. And if you're playing best ball, he's great.
100%. He's a best ball darling. Mate, he is ranked everywhere between 47 and 54. So he's free in most leagues. But yeah, best ball, I reckon that's the one you throw it on, isn't it, Tay?
It is. My only concern with him is, like, I think Derek Carr was saving the shits and sending them to Chris Olave. He wasn't putting them in Rashid Shaheed's breakfast because he seemed to actually have a mind meld with Rashid Shaheed. Like, they actually had, like, a great connection, and, like, he was just making him a fantasy darling. So, like I said, if there's any upside for Chris Olave because of the quarterback change, I'm worried that creates a downside for Shaheed because it's not Derek Carr. So that would be my only concern. But you're right, like, he's a best ball darling. Like, whether he's got a quarterback he likes or not, he's always going to be erratic. So don't love him in redraft, like just general redraft. But yeah, for a best ball league, he's going to have good enough weeks to win you those weeks.
Yeah, it's like Matty C. He's a streak merchant, and if someone's got an arm to get it down there, he'll have occasional big plays. But I went looking for a third wide receiver. Did you know Brandon Cooks is back there? I kind of love that. I've kind of got him circled as somebody who you may see a little bit more of than people are expecting. I can't find a site that has Brandon Cooks ranked anywhere. The only other player on this offense I've found ranked anywhere is Juwan Johnson. Now, he is ranked outside the top 25 at tight end everywhere. Tay, I saw you put him at 22. I imagine it's a product of just having to put people linearly. Now, I don't imagine this means that you've got some great penchant for wanting to own Juwan Johnson everywhere.
I don't. It was probably more another of these things I've been sort of doing research into in the preseason where I think sometimes, like, a bad quarterback situation can actually lend itself to tight end fantasy success, and Juwan Johnson has actually been a better for production than you probably have actually realised when he's been healthy. So he's just another guy that I guarantee I won't take in any drafts, but I just had him ranked higher than probably consensus because I think there's a reason to believe that he might be a safety blanket like an Alvin Kamara for a bad quarterback. So I just thought I would sort of rank him there, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean I'm going to take him anywhere.
I mean, Connor, you can't have any more faith than that, right?
I couldn't give a fuck about him.
You and me both, brother. Oh, my God. I struggle to think of things I care less about.
Well, listening, that's a better take than mine. I love it.
Yeah. I started thinking about, people who call Wednesday hump day. I care less about them than Juwan Johnson. But that's about it. Yeah. Let's move on. Let's go to sunnier pastures because the Carolina Panthers, as the season wore on, they kind of turned a boat around. I remember people saying that when they were going to go and play the New York Giants in Munich, it was because it was a game that was so poor they weren't even going to allow it on American soil. And I just kind of feel like that was such a rough deal because the Panthers, they brought back Bryce Young and he looked great. They wanted to win a bunch of games. And what I like the most about it is there were some really clear fantasy tangents you could draw from that. Bryce Young currently is being ranked outside the top 20. I've seen him ranked everywhere between about 23 and 25. Tay, you and I are about there. I've got him 23. You're a little hotter than that on 20. I can't throw to you first. We've got Connor Wilson, Australia's premier Carolina Panthers fan. I need to go to Connor on what he thinks the outlook is for Bryce Young this year and why it matters.
But one of the few Carolina fans, perhaps. But outlook on Bryce Young is good. I think it's better than what they QB22 sort of ranking figures. In the weeks 12 to 18 last year when he was going on that tear balling out, he was actually the QB6, which I don't think people realize how good he actually was, and all of the underlying metrics really suggested that he was playing that well. His quarterback rating was through the roof, and obviously that's an imperfect stat, but he was playing really good football. He was scoring touchdowns with his legs, and he had opportunities for more points. I think, mine definitely has to go back to Leggett dropping it on the goal line against Philly. Like, there were opportunities for those points to go even further. And with an upgraded offense, with more weapons, I think he will definitely outperform that QB22. Whether he's really viable in one quarterback leagues, perhaps not. But in a 2 quarterback league, he's definitely worth a flyer on.
Oh my God! If you go hero at your first quarterback and then you pick up Bryce Young as your second, I think there is a lot to be said. Tay, we talk a lot about PFF offensive line rankings, and we've seen that there is a clear improvement in what they've done down there in Carolina. We expect that to help a couple of positions. How do you feel about that helping Bryce Young?
I fucking love the Panthers this year. I think I've brought that up a few times. You know what? I'm not going to talk about Bryce Young himself. Connor did a great enough analysis on it. I don't necessarily know if he's going to be relevant in one quarterback leagues. Whatever. I'm telling you right now, every year in fantasy, you need to pick the offense that is getting completely underrated by fantasy players out there. That this year, one is the Carolina Panthers. I think they're being underrated. I think they're going to be a far better offense than people realise. Their defense still sucks complete ass, so they are going to be in shootouts. I think Bryce Young showed in those last 6 weeks. Obviously, it took a car crash from fucking Dalton to actually showcase that, but he came in and proved that he actually can return some value to that number 1 pick that they spent a couple of years ago. Look, I'm not going to go into their pieces. I'm just saying that right now, I think Carolina is going to be one of these markets that I'm targeting in drafts because I think they're all going to be underrated. I'm going to make a call right now, Matty C.
Oh.
I think the number 1 in each position are all going to beat their ADP. Every single one of them. Bryce Young,
okay.
Jim Hubbard, Ted McMillan, and Sanders.
Okay. Let's write this down. So Bryce Young is currently, I've got him at around, I know, quarterback 23. So we think, that one's a pretty big slam dunk. Our Chuba Hubbard, he's currently ranked running back 18.
Easy. Oh my God.
Where do you have him ranked, eh? Where do you have him ranked?
Not high enough, Matty C.
Yeah, that's the correct answer. 13 is the number I've got. Have you moved from that? I mean, because that's not hotter than consensus. That is like hot in Cleveland levels of hotter than consensus.
Can we imagine that he's higher?
Yeah, let's just put him at running back 1 or 0. Running back 0.
Yeah, running back 0. Perfect.
Mate, I want to go to Connor on this because Chuba Hubbard has been a terrific running back for Carolina for some time. And it's not just because he was backing up CMC and then happened into this role. They drafted him with intent, and he has been terrific every moment he's had to take on a significant chunk of that role. I know there was a little while where they played with Deonta Foreman, but I can tell you who's still there and who isn't. What do you feel like the outlook is for Chuba Hubbard this year, given that he's ranked around about that running back end of running back 2? Do you see a higher outlook for him as well, like Tay's saying?
Yeah, I mean, last season he finished as a running back 12, and I think the team is better this year. I think his underlying statistics point to him having the efficiency to back it up. I liken him to a bit of a modern, I mean, I know he's still around, but a bit of a James Conner. He's very boring, but he will get the job done. He does too many things too well to be sitting around that running back 18. I think he's a running back 1. If you've got him as your running back 2, you would be absolutely ecstatic.
I think it's not sexy. Is that all it is? It's just that it's not sexy to draft Chuba Hubbard. Like, if you took the name off the jersey and just put the opportunity and the statistics up, people would be more inclined?
No, for sure. I think he is just in the same vein. He's a really boring pick. He's going to play all 3 downs. He's going to get all of the work for this Carolina team. I don't see Rico Dowdle factoring in much at all. I thought he was average last year, and he's come into a team that has a clear running back 1. I think Chuba's going to be awesome this year. We paid him like he was going to be awesome because I think he will be.
Mate, Rico Dowdle is a 1,000-yard rusher, okay? I won't have you.
He's one of the people we were talking about earlier.
He's look. I think in terms of a good backup, that's a great person to have in the background. But Rico, I don't think he threatens Chuba either. The great thing I think for Chuba is, as you say, he's just, there's not a situation where he's not worthy on being on the field, and they've upgraded that offensive line. Tay, you were saying they're now a top 10 graded offensive line through PFF. that only plays well for Penix in the running game, but I think the knock-on effect there is that then we go to what their wide receivers look like. They've got a shit hot wide receiver that they picked up in the draft, Connor. Do you want to sing a song for me about TALOR and McMillan?
I couldn't be more excited. I could not be more excited. Seeing what Bryce Young was able to do with Adam Thielen as his first target, we're getting a Mike Evans light. T-Mac has got all of the intangibles, all of the tangibles. He's a big guy. He can win at the catch point. He's got a huge catch radius. He's the kind of prospect that definitely increases the floor. And you can see with what he was doing at college in the last 2 seasons, he's got up to the catch ability. There were questions about whether he likes playing football. His coaches have said that that's ridiculous. He just had poor quarterback play in that second year, and it's fair to check out a little bit when the ball's not coming your way the way that it should. I think he's an awesome prospect. I want him in every draft. I think he's going to outplay his ADP by far, and I think he has an opportunity to really sneak into that top 15 wide receivers.
Don't doubt it. Tay and I have him ranked a little bit ahead of the consensus, which puts him at about 28.5. I am at 25. Tay, you're even hotter still. You got him at 22.
Oh, I'm just hot bothered, Matty C.
Did you just finish in your pants? It sounded like it.
Way up on all 3, 4, and 5. Like I've mentioned that, I feel like all these pieces help everyone else, if that makes sense. My thought process about Ted McMillan is, everything Connor just said, he's so good at the contested catch point that I think that it's going to be like a safety blanket for Bryce. Bryce is obviously coming into his own. He's into his third year now. He's going to need a guy like this that if he doesn't throw the perfect ball, he needs a guy that can go up and just boss the fuck out of the defender and get it. And this is what Ted is. I cannot fathom why people are trying to talk down Ted as this number one receiver, because I think he's just one of the most can't miss prospects ever. I'm so high on him. I'm high on this Panthers offense in general. I think they're getting completely underrated. Like I said, the defense being shithouse means something to me because I think they're going to need to win. They've got Dave Canales, who is an ex-OC for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Everyone talks about Lee Cohen and why we should be, keen on the Jaguars. We had Canales, who was the guy in front of him, who was the fucking head coach of the Panthers. I think he's seen what he could do with Bryce, and he went out purposely and got Ted McMillan in the draft. I'm so high on what these guys could do together. I can't draft Ted enough. I think he's set up for success straight away.
Man, I like your take, but I am not going to let you get away with crimes against Florida football teams. Did you just say Jaguars?
What am I meant to say, Matty C?
Yeah, you're in the sim for 10 minutes. That's fucking appalling. We love Ted, but I also look down that list and I say, look, Xavier Legette, Anne brought this one up recently that we did a mock draft, and he was all about some Xavier Legette. And the more I've thought about it, the more I'm kind of in on Xavier Legette. He's going to be free at the bottom of your drafts. And if you find yourself just looking to fill one last draft spot, I'd take Legette over Thielen. I know Thielen is probably going to be sexy in the early part of the year, but he's 155 years old. I do like myself a bit of Xavier Legette. The tight end position here is it's a bit of a disaster. They've got Jatavion Sanders, he's young, he's new. He is not being ranked really anywhere by anyone. We all just hope that he can get out there and show some worth. I don't think there's a world in which you're drafting him. Is there any other flyers we want to talk about? I know I just dug up 2 deep wide receivers there, fellas. Is there anything else we want to talk about on this Panthers team?
Look, I think in the fantasy community, people bang on about Jalen Coker. There's a little cokeheads community that knocks about. I don't think he's really going to be that relevant, but it's just fun to talk about him.
He's fun to talk. He's got one of those names, doesn't he? Look, I love that. We've gone right into the Panthers. We even got a 4th wide receiver. Have a go at that. Thank you so much, Connor. Let's move on to the second place team in this division. Weirdly, the Falcons just find a way to win half the games every year. They are the Steelers that no one's talking about. They have got clearly a nice young prospect at quarterback. Michael Penix has, and I pronounced his name Penix the other day on the Supercoach podcast, and Taylor let me get away with it. Michael Penix is ranked just outside the top 20, and I think he's going to be a 2-quarterback play, but he's also going to be one of those guys, if you're in a super deep league, it might be fun to throw him on your bench if you end up with like let's say JJ McCarthy, and you're just not sure, maybe sticking Penix on your bench to start the season is a good place to go. We're not entirely sure that he's going to have a massive fantasy impact out of the gate, but I think everyone would like to think he could outperform his draft capital here, Tay.
I like it. Like, I even brought him up on the Supercoach pod this week. 245 yards per game in his 3 starts at the end of last year. He seems to have a license to just fucking peg that thing. Like, it kind of reminds me of like a mini Jameis. Like, I don't think he's going to have like LASIK issues like of his eyes where he can't see. But I do think he's going to have this situation that some of the other Atlanta quarterbacks haven't had with Arthur Smith there. Like, he's not there obviously anymore. So I think this guy's going to be able to actually throw to his wide receivers a bit more. And yeah, I do like Michael Penix. I think this could be like a 2 years ago Dolphins offense where there's a lefty sort of chucking it and guys are going to be like taking it to the house. So I'm leaving that option open where Penix is like a 2 years ago Tua.
Connor, you see a lot of this Falcons team, and you would have been locked into seeing what's happening at the end of the season there, just on a football standpoint. So it's a good point to be able to then extrapolate into fantasy. What's your take on Michael Penix?
Penix throws fucking lasers, and I think it's awesome. He's a gunslinger of a quarterback. He had an average pass distance of 10-plus yards when he came in for those 3 games. Obviously, it's a small sample size, but I think he's going to have the license to just sling the fuck out of the ball, and that's going to be a lot of fun. Might not necessarily be fantasy relevant for him, but for the pass catchers in this team, I think that we saw how much Drake London benefited from that his last 3 weeks. He was wide receiver 1 for those 3 weeks. And I think Penix is going to throw the fuck out of the ball. It'll be great fun.
Yeah, I think he's going to be one of these guys, when we look back at the end of the season, we're going to go, how kind of cool was that to pick him up for free and watch him ride you to some weeks where you just won, and especially the 2-quarterback world where he's likely to have a lot more impact. I mean, no one is expected to have more impact on this offense than Bijan Robinson. He's a running back 1 or 2, depending on who you believe. He's pretty much ranked either 1 or 2 everywhere, and it's pretty evenly split. You see a lot of this too, Connor, because you're in the division. Bijan Robinson, where does he fall for you? Do you have him 1 or 2?
I'm shooting for Bijan. I will take him in draft where he falls to me. He gets all the work regardless of games. He's not necessarily reflecting any value because of how highly he's being drafted, but he has every opportunity to return that RB1 draft position. And quietly, I think last season he flew under the radar just a touch. I think Saquon and Derrick Henry took a lot of the shine off what was a very, very, very impressive season from him. And I think he's going to be the best running back in football this year.
Hey, I was an early adopter on Bijan Robinson. I got him very late in the Astros last year, and he helped me considerably on the way to a semi-final appearance in that league. This year, everyone's caught up, right? So there's not a lot of value in drafting Bijan. I think Connor made a great point there. But do you think he's a real sure thing to at least return your value if you've got an early pick?
I'm going to be contrarian. I can't stand that everyone just keeps anointing him as the running back 1 over Saquon. Everyone sees a running back 1 performance and thinks we've got to find someone else to anoint as the running back 1 this year.
Yeah, because that's the cute thing to do, right? Is go running back 1s don't repeat.
You're not taking Bijan thinking he has to return that exact value. Like, you basically need him to be running back 1 the way he's going at fucking drafts at the moment to even return value. So the question of, do I think he returns value? It actually makes sense for me to say no, because he basically has to lap the field to actually go be a good pick. So
yeah, he has to finish 1 or 2. There's no other option, right?
That's my concern. I love Bijan. He's in such a good situation. Connor said, he kind of went under the radar last year. He had a good season. If anything, there's reason to believe he could be better this year. But why? Someone tell me why he is better set up than Saquon. Outside of, no one repeats as running back 1. That is not a reason not to rank someone 1. Jamar Chase, he finished 1 last year with a bullet. Why aren't people saying that Jamar Chase shouldn't be 1? What's the difference? I don't understand it.
Well, that's Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown finished one a few years in a row recently. So, there's kind of no stank on it.
I'm sorry, I don't get it. Like, my bold take this year is that Jamar Chase and Saquon are just going to be one again. Like, I know that doesn't seem bold, but for Saquon, it seems to be bold because everyone else is anointing Bijan is the number one running back. And I don't get why. I'm sorry. Like, I do not understand why it's not rinse and repeat for Saquon. Someone give me a reason. An actual reason outside of no one repeats as the running back one, outside of injury, because most of the time that people don't repeat as running back one is because of injury. So, someone give me a reason.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, Tay. I think it is injury, and the only things that I've read that have kind of knocked Saquon back is just the workload from last year. There's kind of only one player that's ever taken on that workload, like that amount of touches, and then come back and played well and stayed healthy the next season. And that is absolute freak of nature who you're very familiar with, and that's Derrick Henry. Every other player who's had that workload has had problems the next season, and I think it's just a consensus of banking on Saquon potentially getting hurt or not being able to keep up that workload that he had this year. But apart from that, the talent and the situation kind of lends him to still repeating. But that's the only caveat to it, I think.
Well, it all means that everyone's just projecting him to get injured because there's no backup that's going to take the role off him. You could actually make the case that Bijan has a better backup in Tyler Algier than Saquon has behind him. So you can actually say that there's actually a better chance that that Bijan actually hands over more of his role to Tyler Algier than Saquon would to anyone. Sorry, this sounds like I'm being super aggressive to Connor. It's not at all.
That's straight off him. Go hard.
I'm more talking to like the NFL fantasy community. I just don't get it. Like, I personally have Saquon one with a bullet, and I'm so out on a limb with that, which makes no sense. Like, I don't understand why everyone just wants to anoint someone else when this guy is just staring us in the face. So I personally will just be mopping up Saquon in so many leagues because I just feel like he's the number one easily, and I don't get why we need to anoint someone else.
Wide receiver, there isn't a lot of questions about this team either because Drake London is clearly the best receiver on this team. Very quietly, he went and put up a wide receiver 5 year last year. Did anyone notice that? Amazing. The great thing about it, though, is that he's being ranked everywhere between about 9 and 10. There is very little movement. It's pretty much 9 or 10. Tay, you and I are at 10 and 11, so we're also believing. I wonder if Connor might even be hotter than us on them, though, because you've kind of got a bit of heartstring towards Drake London, mate.
Yeah, I think that Drake London is a very good football player. I think that he quietly put up a wide receiver 5 season with a one-legged Kirk Cousins throwing to him. And I think with a quarterback coming in that wants to throw the ball and wants to target the fuck out of Drake London, in those 3 games, he had over a 35% target share, which is just absurd, over 100 receiving yards a game, which is also absurd, and over 3.7 yards per route run, which is ridiculous. Those are through the roof, and obviously it is a small sample size, semi-meaningless games, but when you've got a rookie quarterback who has an affinity to a particular sophomore quarterback, I should say, who has an affinity for a particular player, he's going to throw it a lot, and he's going to throw it to Drake London a lot. PPR leagues, he's going to eat that up and he's going to get red zone targets. I love Drake London in that position, and I would draft him 10 times out of 10 at the end of the first.
God, I mean, it's the only year this year that I've gone into the season believing London because I've failed to believe in previous years, and I'm poorer for that. Tay, you a bit of a believer in Drake London this year?
I think you and I, Matty, have been on the exact same path where we both saw the reasons to believe that we weren't high on last year because I was so against this Atlanta offense last year. I could not understand why everyone was thinking that Kirk Cousins off a torn ACL was going to help this offense. And it's so funny because I felt like I was right in so many ways, yet somehow Drake London ended up wide receiver 5, and it actually looks like I was wrong, but the offense was so shit, so it kind of felt like it was a win anyway. I'm with you. Like, I'm finding myself rising on London more than anyone else. Even when I had him initially ranked at like 15, when we first in the preseason talked about him, I was like, I am willing to be so wrong on this guy. Like, I think there's reason to believe that Penix is going to target the shit out of him. I also was like, come to a moment where I need to stop like hating on the other wide receiver when I love the other guy, and I love Darnell Mooney. Like I talk about how I think he's overqualified as a wide receiver 2 on a team, but I need to stop like taking that out on the wide receiver 1. I feel like they can both coexist, especially with the way that Penix just sort of swings at things. So I'm with both of you guys. Like I find myself getting more and more on London, and I wouldn't be surprised if I took him shockingly high in some of these drafts I have coming up in the next 2 weeks, more so than I believed I would. So, look, I would maybe not take him as my first pick. So if other people are actually willing, like Connor, to take him as well as their like end of first round wide receiver, I maybe won't be that high. But I wouldn't be surprised if I am in like early in the second round and I go, you know what, Drake London's there, I might just take a shot. The only reason I'm not higher on him is this is a weird year where there is just so much fucking wide receiver.
Yeah.
Like honestly, outside of Jamar Chase, like from like 2 to 10, it is just like so many guys I fucking love. Like it is so hard actually differentiating a lot of these wide receivers this year. They are so talented and like in such great situations. It's like if I get any of those guys, I'm happy. So if I make Drake London my 10th wide receiver, it's not to say I don't like him. It's just that there's so much talent this year.
100%. No, and I think it's Drake London, and there's really not a lot further down. There is Darnell Mooney, who Tay, you and I have loved him since he was a 5th-round pick to the Bears, and we're kind of wondering, why was he a 5th-round pick, and why can't anyone actually throw a ball that hits him in the fucking hands? This year, I think, is the best chance he's ever had to have a quarterback who can do that, and we think he's drastically undervalued. We will each be out in the car park fisticuffing each other to try and get as much Darnell Mooney as we can, because currently he's ranked down in the 40s. You and I have him ranked, actually, both of us, inside our top 40 quite comfortably. So we're going to be fighting for him. And I think also he's an incredibly good best ball option as well. Connor, do you, beyond Drake London, we like Darnell Mooney. Is there anyone else in this offense in the wide receiver core that you like the look of as well?
Bring Ray McLeod has a fun name, but outside of that, no.
Because
absolutely not.
Once you look beyond the wide receivers, we're going to tight end, and you know what's going to happen at tight end, right? Because there's a guy who's been there for a while who has done that to people. He's made him grown. Talk to me about Kyle Pitts, mate, and what your outlook is for him, and how you felt about owning him in the past.
I have Pitts in Tay and I's Dynasty League, and I can't help but be sitting here feeling my hopes slowly increasing as the season draws nearer. And I know that it's a stupid decision because I will be let down, but I can't help but think, what if?
I mean,
what if he just plays a little bit better? At his ADP, he unfortunately represents a value, which means that I probably will end up targeting him, potentially regretting it. But at the end of the season, when I turn around and Pitts has ended up outplaying that, am I going to feel stupid for not drafting him? Maybe.
Or if he ends up tight end 15, no, because he's currently getting drafted at tight end 19. But, mate, I have got him at 10. I'm in. This is the 1 year he represents value, and I'm fucking in. Is that mad?
It's not mad. I think it makes perfect sense if we were to ignore just the Pitts memes that have been kind of relentless since his rookie season. Like, he came out, he had a 1,000-yard rookie receiving season as a tight end. That's something that doesn't really happen very often.
Not for tight ends.
He's been afflicted by a few injuries. Like, man, it would make sense for him to play well and to be a good player. He's got all of the things that you would look for someone who should be a good NFL player. But he just hasn't been, and I don't know if it's a ride I want to be on.
This is kind of like the have a litre of orange juice, have a litre of milk, get on the roller coaster, and just place your bet whether it's coming up or down. Tay, you've ridden the Pitts roller coaster in the past. You got him at 17. You're much more sane than me. Am I nuts?
So, you said I've ridden the roller coaster, but I kind of haven't because I've been so out on Pitts my entire fantasy life. So I actually haven't drafted him anywhere, and I do wonder that the way that people are drafting Pitts this year, it's like people who have been so scarred in the past are the ones that are staying away, and it's the guys like me that have had no piece of him when he's been drafted in the 5th, 6th, 7th round or even higher that are like, you know what? He's at his absolute lowest ADP of all time. He's basically just a streaming tight end at this point. There, I'm fine with him. Especially a mixture of the talent that he came into the NFL with and Penix, who can actually throw a good ball. I'm actually kind of finding myself in on him too, which is weird as a podcast to sort of be saying that. But I don't feel like there's any risk. There's no risk at all this year. It's if you're in on the only risk is if you've been on him the entire way and you're just sticking with it and you're no, year 5, this is where he turns it all around. You've been known as the fucking Pitts guy and you just won't die on that hill. And for me, I have no skin in this game. I have been so out on him my entire fantasy life that I'm you know what? This is the perfect moment to be in on him because I can't lose. If he's shit in week 1 and he's my tight end, I'll just stream the position. It means nothing. So I'm high on him in terms of being a late round flyer because there's no cost. It's the perfect situation.
I'm going to be the last guy in my league to get a tight end in all the leagues, and I'm going to go and get Pitts. I'm going to be very happy. that's my analysis in one sentence. The Falcons are really an uncomplicated team in a lot of ways when it comes to there because you're either in or you're out. Pitts has given a lot of people, especially dynasty owners, a lot of heartache. So I would understand if everybody on earth just said, hey, Pitts, don't do it. But it's kind of when people say don't that I kind of look at the red button and go, I should press that. So that is going to be all we've got to say on these Atlanta Falcons. We're going to wrap this up by a trip to the wild west side of the Florida Peninsula. Tampa Bay have just, I don't really know how they've done this, but they took, a Hall of Fame quarterback, took him to a couple of divisional titles, and then immediately, weirdly, they take this recycled wash-up that had been through the Browns, spent 15 minutes at a cup of coffee with the Panthers, mate, and I know you know about that. And then one day he just turned up at the Rams and won a Monday night football game for them out of nowhere. And now here he is, probably going to get his name up on the Ring of Honor at Tampa Bay when it's all said and done. Baker Mayfield is the quarterback at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He is the highest-ranked quarterback in this division by some distance because we can't talk about any of the New Orleans Saints. We've talked about Michael Penix. He's pretty low. Bryce Young is pretty low. Baker Mayfield is a proven asset. He finished as quarterback 2 in a lot of scoring last year, but where there is higher points for rushing touchdowns, he finished a little bit further down. Baker Mayfield sling that sucker. There were 3 quarterbacks with 40-plus touchdowns last year. There were Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Baker Mayfield. Aaron's got him at 7. Taylor and I have him at 6 only because we like him more than Mahomes. Where do you land, Connor? What you say about Baker Mayfield, and especially when it comes to versus Mahomes?
I'm Baker over Mahomes for fantasy purposes, obviously. I don't think Mahomes represents any sort of value at this point. That offense just isn't conducive to the kind of gunslinging that Mayfield gets to do in this Bucs offense. In saying that, it is a bit rich. It is a bit rich for a pocket passer. And obviously Baker can get on with his legs. He added almost 400 rushing yards and 3 rushing scores last season. He can get out and scramble and run about. But I do think you were reluctant to hit 30 touchdowns for him to get close to that sort of value that you're drafting him at. And historically speaking, this is an outlier season. He had a good season beforehand, and I think most people thought that was potentially the ceiling, and obviously blew past that last year. But I would struggle to think that he could repeat that exact same form into this coming season. I think he's going to be a lot of fun for whoever has him on their fantasy team, but it is a bit rich, I think.
Can I give you 2 things that I think might help with this too? Because Baker Mayfield was only pass attempted by 4 other quarterbacks last year. Burrow, Rodgers, Mahomes, Geno Smith, right? But he had the highest completion rate of all of them. I am finding it hard to poke a hole in Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think he's a very good player. But in saying that, the wide receivers and the running backs that you're going to have to draft him over, perhaps spins it the other way value-wise. He is still, at the end of the day, one of those pocket passers, and he was the guy last year. You could have picked him up off waiver-wise, and he threw 40 touchdowns. I think chasing that guy from last year probably isn't the ideal draft strategy. I think looking forward and hoping that you hit on that next Baker Mayfield is probably a bit more of a conducive strategy to doing well if you can't get after one of those really, really highly drafted quarterbacks. But fuck, he's going to be a lot of fun. He's a heap of fun. He has been since he entered the league. You know, if you're sitting there watching Bucks games, there are worse ways that you can spend your weekends.
I mean, Tay has found watching Baker do all this just so much fun. There is a bit of consensus that Bucky Irving is legit. Connor, he is getting ranked well inside top 10s across every platform. I am yet to see a major ranking site that has him outside the top 10, but Tay and I are both outside the top 10. How do you land on Bucky? Because I'll give you my case in a moment.
I think Bucky is legit. I think he is. All of the underlying efficiency metrics make him look fucking awesome, which is how we got the job in the first place. Obviously, Rashad White is dog shit at running the ball. Bucky Irving is very efficient at running the ball. So that's how he's ended up with that starting job, which is great. I don't think he represents any value drafting at QB9. I think his ceiling is kind of capped just by the way that he plays, and also he is going to get a lot of those third downs stolen by Rashad White, who is a bit of a better pass catcher. I think he's a legit player. I don't think he's a legit RB9, though.
I mean, I think where he benefited last year was that White was hurt and that there was not a lot of competition for that passing role. We kind of saw, people get cycled into being, just rest for Bucky while Rashad White was injured. But when Rashad White was there, he had a role and he produced. And I think that the fantasy community has got a short memory on that because they've got him ranked down in the 40s and Bucky up in the teens, inside the 10s. Tay and I have him in the teens, and we've got Rashad White ranked inside our 40. So we're just kind of feeling like the gap between them is not quite as big. Do you think that's a respectable opinion to have?
Definitely. I think when I'm going into a draft, I look at this running back room and I think that Rashad White represents a value where he's being drafted at. I think if you picked him up as your flex position to bounce in on some weeks, I think he represents a great value, especially in PPR. I just don't see Bucky Irving performing at an RB9. I'm looking at the guys around him. Josh Jacobs, obviously very touchdown dependent, probably going to do better. Jonathan Taylor, I would probably rather have Jonathan Taylor. So the cost of drafting Bucky Irving is just a bit too rich for me.
Yeah. See, and to me, both those guys, I love that you've brought specific guys up because to me, both of them, volume beats Bucky Irving. Like, to me, both of them are just on the field.
Yeah, they're going to be on the field for those third down passing scenarios that I think Bucky Irving will lose to Rashad White, who is one of the premier pass catching backs. He can't do fucking anything else, but he can catch the football.
He can catch the football. I've got Bucky Irving and Jonathan Taylor back to back, and it's only because I'm not a big believer in the Jonathan Taylor passing volume portion of that program. But I understand, like, this is what makes fantasy great is I don't have to agree with everybody. People don't all have to agree with me. And if you don't want to be wrong, as a fantasy analyst, you're in the wrong joke if you don't want to be wrong because we're wrong often. And I kind of like being wrong because you'll learn a lot more from being wrong. Let's move across to the wide receiver here because, mate, I am in love with Mike Evans. I've been in love with Mike Evans my entire life. He is being ranked on consensus, about wide receiver 16, 17, in that kind of range. Mate, Taylor and I, we have seen this show too many times to fall for that. We have him inside our top 15s comfortably. Taylor at 12, me at 7. I've only got it 7 because I've seen too many 1,000-yard seasons from Mike Evans. He did it on 11 games last year, for fuck's sake. I've just seen too many. He had 13 touchdowns in that stretch. I just know that Baker is hyper-targeting him, and he's too good at a contested ball, and he's too good in red zone for me to ignore that. How do you fall on Mike Evans?
Mike Evans is that guy. He wins at the catch point. He's a bigger body. He's a red zone target. I don't see any regression to that touchdown total. I think Baker might throw less touchdowns, but the ones that he does throw will be to Mike Evans. Last year, his kind of deep route and deep target participation was a bit lower than we're used to seeing. I would expect that to have some positive regression back to the mean. Obviously, he was dealing with a couple of knocks and niggles last season. And I think, he's going to be catching the ball probably deeper down the field, which represents great value and great points production for a fantasy asset.
I also think the great unknown here is, well, what's Chris Godwin? When is he back? What is he like when he's back? And then what parts of the role does he usually eat that get distributed elsewhere? I think he's the big question mark in this offense. He's currently ranked outside the top 30 pretty much everywhere. Tay and I even cooler than that because we've got big concerns on what he looks like when he comes back. But they've got two beautifully, wonderfully talented, nice little wide receivers in Jalen McMillan, who had a nice rookie year last year, and Emeka Egbuka, who is all of a sudden kind of becoming this trendy pickup at the bottom of drafts. How do you feel about both of them, Connor?
I think Egbuka is poised to come in and replace Chris Godwin's role from last season. He operates primarily out of the slot, which is where Godwin did most of his damage last year. And when Godwin was playing out of the slot last year, he was fucking unreal. I don't expect Egbuka to be sitting in those sort of top 5 wide receiver conversations that Chris Godwin was before he got injured last year. But I do expect him to catch a lot of passes, to get a lot of volume, and to kind of fulfill that professional sort of effective NFL player that I think is being touted as being one of those guys who's never going to blow the roof off, but he's always going to be there. He's always going to be catching targets. And I think he's poised to come in and just have a role from the get-go. I think he usurps Jalen McMillan instantly as he comes in, and I think that slot role is just built for him and his skill set out of college.
Yeah, he certainly has shown his big body. He's quite happy to take catches in traffic. We like him. I've drafted him everywhere I can get a piece of him in dynasty leagues as well. Just if there's an opportunity to pick him up, I'm liking the look of him. And it's not because I don't think Jalen McMillan is not a good candidate. It's just, if you missed the boat on him last year, you might as well throw some bucks on this guy because there's going to be 570 targets in this offense. We know there's going to be a lot of targets in the offense, and they can't all go to Mike Evans. And if Chris Godwin is iffy, then they've got to go somewhere else because Cade Otton is the only other target in this offense. And, mate, that guy is ranked well outside the top 20 at tight end. Do you feel any different to that? Do you think he's got a role bigger than everyone's suggesting here, Connor?
No, not at all. I think he came in last year, and I picked him up as a streamer last year in a couple of leagues because when Godwin was out, he did pick up a lot of that target share that Godwin left behind. But I don't see him picking that up still with Egbuka in the offense. I think he's going to soak up those targets, those short range, sort of slot through the middle of the field, finding those soft zones. And I don't see Cade Otton having meaningful targets going forward.
Tay, this pass catching scenario at Tampa Bay definitely needs your gaze on it.
The problem is when you go and take a first rounder at Egbuka, and you just bring it up Cotton. Sorry, Otton, not Cotton. What Connor had said, Jesus, Connor, Cotton, Otton, this is killing me right now. It was pretty much a result of like someone that needed to be there because of there being no wide receiver 2 or sometimes even wide receiver 1 on this team. Whereas when you've got Evans, maybe Godwin, Egbuka, Jalen McMillan, it's like there is way too many mouths to feed to even believe that Otton's going to be even relevant in this offense at all. I was even going to bring up with like even Baker, like Bucky earlier. Like no one's really talking about the fact that this is a third offensive coordinator change in 3 years. Like we don't know exactly what this team's going to look like. Like I think Bucky's been drafted his complete ceiling because of what we saw last year. We don't even know if the new OC is going to want to pass to the running back, or we don't know. Like Tristan Wirfs is their best offensive lineman, and he's not even there in the first 2 or 3 weeks. So there's a reason to believe this offensive line isn't even as good as it was last year. So I just got concerns that things aren't going to be just copy and paste from last year. And Otton is the complete reason of that. He was just as someone that basically fulfilled a role where they needed it. But there is way too many wide receivers on this team to believe that Otton's ever going to be relevant this season.
Nothing unreasonable about any of that too, because I think this Tampa Bay side has got so many things that you know to be true about them from previous years, but so much changes, right? You lose offensive coordinators back to back. You've still got the same head coach, but so much changes. And as you say, offensive line is something that we have spent a lot of time on today. We don't think enough fantasy podcasts talk enough about offensive line. And this was a middling offensive line in the first place last year. So to take a bit of a ding may change things. I just kind of wonder what that does for the running backs more than the wide receivers. I do think there's a pretty clear path to there being a lot of targets, but where they go, this is a thing. Everyone gets a point per reception, and it depends on where you believe that ball's going to go. Do we have anyone else we want to bring up as a late round flyer here? Because we've brought up as many as 4 wide receivers, and now we've also brought up K-Dot, and we've got 2 running backs. Is there anyone else we need to talk about on this Tampa Bay side?
I've got one, if I can go first. I think Tucker might be involved. Rashad White's already come up lame in the preseason, and like you guys have already spoken about really well, he wasn't really like dominating from a metric state already. And I'm wondering that if like Bucky, they decide that he's just going to be between the tackles, and they do decide to actually run an offense where they do pass the running back. I'm not guaranteed that's what they do. I think Tucker could actually be the guy. So he's a little bit of a flyer. Like, he's not someone that I think is going to get drafted in like a 10-team league or anything. But if you're in like a 16 or 14 teamer where you're really looking for like running back depth and just guys that might sort of be way more relevant than they actually look like they are right now, I think Tucker could be okay. Like, if Rashad White and Bucky are healthy, I don't think Tucker really does much. It's more of a like banking on one of the two not being fully healthy at all times, and maybe he just like, because honestly, every single time he has been a running back one on that team, he's dominated. Like, he actually looks way better than most running backs, like from an eye test. So I just think with Wirfs coming back maybe later in the year, maybe Tucker gets his opportunity later in the year, and that's a throw up the stumps, I'll say. But from a redraft point, probably not. But I just thought he's one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, well worth a shout. Is there anyone you want to bring up here, Connor?
No, all good.
Yeah, I think silence is the correct answer there after Tay's dug deep into the playbook to find that one. Hey, fellas, we've actually got to the end of the NFC South, and I just want to thank you very much, Connor, for coming through and especially giving us all the insight you have on your Panthers, but you also get a pretty good look at the other teams in this division, and I'm really glad that we had you for this look into the NFC South. So thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you. It was great fun, man.
Hey, Tay, where do you find these folks? Because Connor's been a terrific addition. He was bringing up all kinds of wonderful stats and kind of had me scratching my head there and reassessing some of my rankings.
Well, Matty, when you're in 600 fantasy leagues like myself, you seem to find guys in those leagues that love fantasy. But no, honestly, that league specifically seemed to be like full of guys that are really, really keen on fantasy. And that's why I've sort of slowly just tried to get some of those guys into this fantasy podcast, because I can tell when we chat about fantasy during the year that there's a lot of knowledge in that group.
Yeah.
And there might be like, sort of, obviously a lot of those guys are a lot younger than myself, and maybe there's like a macho thing about not wanting to be on a podcast and talk about your takes or whatever. But like, I'm obviously seeing from Gabe and Connor, like they've been amazing. Like, even Isaac's in that league. I know he's a bit older. From an older ilk, as they say, as the term. I know I'm an unk, but anyway. I just want to say, like, thank you so much, Connor. Like, thank you to everyone that's been on this podcast so far in this preseason, and anyone's going to come on later. Connor, you've been amazing. Like, I cannot get my head around how much I'm in on the Panthers. Like, I don't want to, like, be the guy that ruins your team before it even starts by being too in on them than anyone else. But I do believe they are the discount Bengals of this season.
You fucker. But I agree. Shit defense, promising offense. It should be good fun, man. I'm really excited to watch the Panthers and just keep for more football.
Cut the podcast there. That was gone. But anyway, for anyone who wasn't in on that inside joke, that was a joke. But I just want to say, like, thank you so much, Connor, for coming on tonight, mate. It was amazing. Like, your knowledge about NFL fantasy, like, came through tonight so easily, especially on the Friday show as well. So, thanks again, like, for your support of the fantasy podcast for us.
Yeah, thank you.
And having Aussies coming on and showcasing their knowledge is huge, mate. So thank you again.
No, this is great fun, man. Love talking football, and I've really enjoyed the bits of the podcast that I have tuned in for. You're putting together a good show that's entertaining and genuinely quite valuable knowledge-wise. So it's good, and I was just really glad to be on and chat about football with you guys.
Looking forward to our live draft in a week and a half.
No, I'm down to be on whenever, wherever.
And for all of us at the Aussie Gridrion Network, we are done here on South Week. We hope you got a whole bunch out of it between our Friday show with the AFC South, the G'day Gridrion guys yesterday, and everything we went through on the NFC South and Fantasy today. We've also got that wonderful, great new podcast on the NFL Superoach game that's out now, and we've had some wonderful response to that. Like and subscribe, follow us everywhere, and do us a favor, just tell somebody you know who likes either Superoach or NFL Fantasy or even just NFL about our network. Get them to pop in and pay us a visit. Connor, thank you so much for joining us. It's been fantastic to meet you through this week in the way that we have on the podcast, but also it's just a real pleasure to have you in the chat groups we're in, and you add so much value. And man, you've honestly had me reconsider a whole bunch of my rankings over these last couple of days. So thank you so much for everything you've brought, mate. It's nice you come so prepared and ready to change people's minds.
Thank you, man. Great to chat with you.
Thanks, mate. And Taylor, we'll see you next week. We've got both podcasts to produce now, so we're going to be seeing a lot of each other. But thank you again so much, mate. Everything you bring, it's wonderful. You're so prepared too, and you really do bring the best of Aussie NFL fantasy analysis, and I'm so glad that I get to work with you on it.
Yeah, we see a lot of each other these days, Matty, even more now that we're doing an extra podcast. But, mate, this podcast wouldn't run without you. So a huge thank you. I think we all know within the network that you're basically the heartbeat of this entire network, mate. So thank you again. And like I said, thanks again to Connor and everyone that's sort of supported this network and this podcast. Honestly, Aussies, NFL Fantasy, obviously we're getting a game next year in Melbourne. I think we all should be down there fucking sporting AGN net fucking gear. Let's go, baby. Love it. Let's go.
Oh, mate, we will be 100%. I've got more AGN gear than I've even got work gear these days for my actual paying jobs. So, I'm going to be down there in it. Cannot wait. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody who's down there too, and try and get around to meet some people. You will see a whole bunch of us on local gridiron stuff on Aussie Gridrion Today. The network keeps on booming. Go check us out. Aussie NFL Fantasy Show, Aussie Gridrion Network, both on Instagram. He is Taylor41. I am Matty Podcast. We're going to get out of here. Hooroo, everyone, and good luck this week.
Hooroo. Thank you.
The Aussie NFL Fantasy Show. Thanks to the Aussie Gridiron Network, Australia's home for NFL and Australian gridiron content. Discover everything the network has to offer, including G'day Gridrion, Pastry Press, NFL, and Aussie Gridrion Today. Buy merch and win free stuff. Visit the mothership at linktree/Aussie Gridiron Network. Hooroo.